allow. In terms of uses, this concept plan doesn't show it, but one of the uses that we thought made sense here and the Township Committee liked the use was a hotel. We're going to allow that as a permitted use. If the market steps up, great. So hotel, as I mentioned, banks, pharmacies, restaurants, retail sales and services, including food stores, health and fitness. We'll allow offices if he can find that he's got a provision for a small office. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but we'll allow it, and again, let the market respond. As I mentioned, no gasoline or convenience store with gasoline. We will set parking requirements probably fairly consistent with the current ordinance. We may provide an opportunity for shared parking on the retail component, depending on the mix of uses. I think that would be appropriate. I mentioned the landscape buffer. We'll probably have a maximum height for retail. They're generally one-story buildings, so we'll probably do a two-story, 35-foot limit. I talked about coverage. We'll have setback requirements. And we'll probably do it based on main stores as well as individual pad sites, and we'll probably place some limits on. We don't want this to be just a series of pad sites. We recognize that pad sites are attractive in the marketplace, but we'd like a mix of sort of multi-tenant stores and inline stores with pad sites, as his concept shows. We'll provide varying setbacks for each.
Can you just explain pad sites? I think
let's say he's got a freestanding bank in the front with a drive-through, as opposed to where he has the two larger commercial facilities. And I think those footprints mimic a food store and I think a health and fitness club. And there could be, depending on the market, he could have additional inline stores which are attached to that main building, as opposed to the freestanding pad sites.
So the freestanding
are the ones in the front.
Okay.
And there are things such as restaurants, pharmacy, bank, things of that nature.
Well, if I might just interject, some of the vision that we talked about at the Township Committee was something more like what you see in the shops of Union Hill up on Powder Mill, which you've got nice shops, they're in line, they're not separated by parking spots.
Yeah.
What's across the street, to me, is just ugly. The the UPS store, sorry if anyone's here from Hanover, but it's, you've got shops that are not in keeping with what we had in mind for this space. These are going to be $600,000 townhomes, if I understand the plan correctly, and you don't want a $600,000 townhome backing up to something that is not, consistent with that vision.
Agreed, and we've explained this to the redeveloper that it's in his interest to, do the best quality development, do the best amount of separation to protect the value of his right. We discussed all those things, but I think that where we've ended up, Louise, is sort of a bit of a balance, understanding that the retail market today is also challenging.
Yes.
As you know, because of the internet.
Yep.
And we recognize that certain users have stepped up to the market, so we wanted to provide some balance, and also acknowledging that the Denville location that you cited is sort of a better retail location. Hanover Road is probably not a prime retail location. So we're trying to kind of get a balance to get what we desire, as you expressed, as well as make sure that he has the ability to develop something, get an anchor, and have the thing kind of come along. And it's a difficult balance. It's a challenging balance. But we're trying to be both realistic and kind of get the best that we can. And one of the things that we can do in a redevelopment plan is actually provide some direction in terms of the design and materials, for example, consistent design materials, so that even the individual pad sites have to follow. We could put brick as the preferred material. We could put in some how we want buildings to be articulated, so that again you have some guidance. But it is, quite frankly, it's a really delicate balance at this particular site, and we're trying to achieve that. I mean, we don't want to see it empty either.
No, of course, and I think you guys have done a fabulous job.
We're trying.
And the builder's been very reasonable. The developer, I think, has been very reasonable. And all the things that you just lined out are all pluses, you know, the 6 to the acre, the no
Yeah.
big box, the
The
no
no
gas
gas,
station,
yeah.
bigger buffer.
I mean, there were some
All of
moans
these
and
are-
groans,
Yeah,
but,
but it's been very.
as normal, but,
good
you know, I
process
think,
so
and the
far.
interesting thing about it, this is the interesting thing about a redevelopment plan. A redevelopment plan is a partnership, whereas zoning is, you know, zone it and they will come, maybe they don't, and they show up, but when you do these redevelopment plans and ultimately they come in for site plan, you're basically trying to come up with something that makes sense in the marketplace, but also, again, as I mentioned, protects the public interest. It's not always easy. So, but you're correct. I mean, we have gotten very good cooperation, other than the moans and groans, from the perspective of the developer.
Well, as you go through this,
So thank you.
can you point out what makes this site different than the sites across the street? Did you actually look at the way those were developed?
Well,
Did you look at setbacks or other
Well,
standards
they're-
that are there that will show to be different here?
well, there's big boxes across the street, both what's in and what's coming down the road. I mean, the supermarket is I don't know what the size of it is, the ShopRite, but my guess, based on conventional standards, it's going to be larger than the maximum store size that we have in our ordinance. We realize that only so many of those will be able to compete within a certain area, so we're looking for a smaller, kind of either upscale gourmet market or a health market, some of the products that are in the market today. The development going in across from the entrance to the Menon is a big box, you know, wholesale club. We're not looking for that, and also those developments don't have a housing component. They're all basically retail. And an interesting thing about them is, my recollection is that the zoning that was in place for years there was an office zoning. It was sort of an office research zoning, and those property owners struggled with trying to replace it, just like with the, you know, what we had here at Colgate. And ultimately, it went retail because, you know, retail seemed to make sense, you know, in terms of the market. But we're looking for something different from a design and layout and size perspective, I think, than what's across the way.
Okay, so you mentioned.
Because there's gas and there's big boxes.
Right, okay, but, so there won't be any gas stations?
Yes.
There will be smaller buildings?
Yes.
Will there be more of a green buffer along the road, or what else are you thinking?
Well, we're going to basically mimic this minimum amount of green buffer, and, you know, things get a little tight when you're, you know, dealing with trying to basically, on this site, get the, you know, keep the residential within the density, provide enough separation. So I think that we are basically going to mimic that buffer shown in this plan, which I think is 25 feet. I can't recall, Rick, what the buffer is on what's been approved across the street.
Okay.
You know, it may be more, but I just don't recall.
Yeah.
Those sites are deeper, though. They're deeper in terms of the retail. We're sort of constrained with the depth, and again, trying to provide that separation.
So I'm just trying to decide how visually we can set standards that
Yeah.
make it look special and
Yeah.
different, and make
Yeah.
it unique to Morris Township,
Yeah.
as opposed to just the.
Well, we're trying, and hopefully we'll have something in the draft redevelopment plan that will give you hopefully some comfort level, but if not, you'll tell us that when you review the draft.
Can you get to